everybody. My name is Dawn Parkin, and I am your math teacher this year. I'm super excited about this year. Even though it's not exactly how we wanted it to start, we're going to make the best of the situation. So let's go ahead and get started. So to get ready for this year, I need to make sure that you guys have some type of device that you can use to access the internet. So if you don't have a Chromebook or an iPad or a computer, please let the school know as soon as possible, and we can get you set up with something for you to use. My email is dparkin@montyschools.org. You're totally going to need to use that probably a lot this year so that we can have good communication. So obviously, the one method that we're going to have to use this year is Zoom. So my Zoom ID is right there, and my passcode is right there. But I will also post this through my Google Classroom, and I will send you out an email with an invitation to my Zoom meetings. My Google Classroom. So this year, this is going to be your lifeline. Everything that I do in my class will be through Google Classroom. I have posted my Google Classroom codes right here. I also will send those out in an email, and then I also already invited all of my students through their school email address. So all they have to do is log on to their school email, and there should be an invitation waiting for them there. We will be using something called iReady this year, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Your Ready Math workbook is what you're going to need to be utilizing this year for our curriculum. A whiteboard and a whiteboard marker. If you weren't able to stop by school and pick that up, we can figure out a time that maybe we can have you pick it up from school, or maybe we can come up with another thing for you to use. You're going to need some paper and pencils and even a calculator in order to get ready for this school year. Now, don't worry if you can't remember everything that I put on here. I will send these out in a document form through Google Classroom and through Skyward. So no worries if I go too fast and you're trying to write everything down, because I already have it typed out, ready to be handed to you. Okay, so let's get moving. Let's talk about the curriculum that we're going to be using this year. So we're going to be using a curriculum called Ready Math. If you were at Simpson last year, you should be familiar with it. However, this year it's a little bit different, because the workbook that you should have picked up from school is everything all together for you. And yes, you can write in it. It's a consumable workbook where you get to write in it. So that will be kind of nice. The next thing that we will be doing a lot of, and it's kind of a really very cool tool that comes with this curriculum, is called iReady. And what this iReady is the students will be spending about 45 minutes a week on this, and it's specifically individualized based on the learning of each student. They will be needing to have a username and password, and I will get those sent out as soon as we get those. The other part of the curriculum that I will be using is many different supplemental materials, and they could be anything from an online game to a worksheet that I post on Google Classroom. So every day might be a little bit different, but the main curriculum that we'll be using this year will be Ready Math and iReady. So your resources that you need to make sure that you understand is Google Classroom. And I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot about Google Classroom, Google Classroom, Google Classroom. But I want you to join. So parents out there, if you send me your email, I will have you join my class as well, because that way you can see everything that I post, every video, every worksheet, every announcement. That way you're in the know just like your students are. So if you want to send me your email, I will add you to my Google Classroom. The next thing that you're going to be using a lot of in junior high especially is Skyward. So Skyward is going to give you so much information. This is where you will be able to check your student grades. So you just need to make sure that you check it often. As I tell I have a 8th grade student, and what we do is we set up a time that every Friday we check Skyward. That way, if there's anything that I need to talk to the teacher about, or if I need my student to talk to the teacher about, we can get that taken care of before the weekend comes up. So on Skyward, if you click on the math button or the grade for the math, you can open that up and you'll see every assignment that is posted and every grade that your student got on it. So it's really, really important that Skyward becomes part of your daily or weekly check-in point, okay? All right, so here is kind of what I'm thinking for a schedule, because I'm really excited that we now have a block schedule. I just think this will be really, really good for all of us. So in the morning, or when your class starts, I will be doing announcements, a quick little entry task, and an attendance. So that should take probably about 5 to 10 minutes. The next thing is I'm going to check for understanding from the previous day's assignment. That way, this might give somebody an opportunity to ask a quick question, or I just want to make sure that I check in to see and gauge how well my students understood the previous lesson. The next few minutes, I know that you guys are coming. I mean, we've been out of school since March, face-to-face. And so I want to make sure that we don't have a ton of holes in our conceptual understanding. So I might be taking about 10 to 20 minutes a day where I focus on a concept from 6th grade, just to make sure that there is a good understanding of it. The next part of the lesson will be where I introduce the new 7th grade standard, the new concept. And then finally what we'll do is the remainder of the time, that's when they're going to be actually working. Now, keep in mind, if I don't want them to spend a ton of time on the computer if they don't have to. So if they understood the lesson, then what will happen is they can end the meeting for themselves and they can work on their assignment at home. If they are kind of struggling with it, they can stay on the Zoom with me and we can work through problems together. Or the other option is if they decide to end the meeting and work on it, but then they come across a problem that they don't understand, I will still be available during that time. So they can just join my Zoom again and ask questions that they had. Now, please keep in mind, this is the schedule that I want to keep. However, there might be days that other things come up that we need to change our schedule for. So next, Wednesdays, because Wednesdays are a shortened day. What we'll do is we'll do the quick announcements and attendance and the checking for understanding, but then this is the day that they will be spending on iReady. So that Wednesdays are going to be our iReady designated days. Now, if you, parents, if you have a question, and obviously maybe you're at work, or maybe you can't be there at the same time that we have class, feel free to contact me and we can set up a meeting between 5 to 6 on Mondays. But please make sure that if that's something that you're interested in, send me an email so we can set up a time to do that. Okay? All right, so one of the tools that we will be utilizing this year, besides Google Classroom and Skyward, is an application called Kami. And what Kami is all about is it allows me to give actual worksheets, and the students can write on those worksheets or type on those worksheets and then submit their work back into me. So I will probably be utilizing this definitely for quizzes and tests that the students are going to have. So I have set up, this is the setup on how you download Kami to the Google Classroom. Again, don't worry, I will take the students through this as well as send this out through Google Classroom and an email. So we can hopefully get everybody set up on Kami within the first week of school. Okay, so I wanted to give you guys some tips that I just kind of came across that I thought about as I'm thinking about my own daughter starting a remote in the remote world. So the first advice that I might have is find a place for your student in your house with the least distractions. Now, I understand in our house, I have 2 barking dogs, and so they are definitely a big distractor. But if you can find somewhere in your house with the least distractions, it's going to benefit your student for sure. Zoom meetings. Now, I know I'm still trying to get comfortable with Zoom meetings myself. So my hope is eventually all of my students will feel comfortable in my classroom, that they will show their face and they will talk. But until then, they don't have to talk at all. They can stay on mute and then just use the chat option that is available through the Zoom. Then if you're not comfortable with showing your face, you don't have to turn on your video. Like I said, eventually I'm hoping that we'll all get to the place where we're comfortable enough to be able to do that. The big thing, this is it, ask questions. If you know your student is struggling, please have them ask me questions. We can set up a time to work through any problems at all. I just don't want them to get to a point where they're so beyond frustrated that it's hard to kind of get them back. So if there's any struggles at all, please have them email me, or even wait at the end of the Zoom meeting and say, oh, Mrs. Parkin, I need a little bit of help. So please encourage your student to set up that time with me. Okay, Google Classroom. This is a huge tool that we will be using right now. Okay. So this is what my Google Classroom looks like. This is just one of them. And as you can tell, I will post a lot of different informations. In fact, one of the first assignments that I threw out there is 2 truths and a lie. So the students will click on this and they'll enter 2 things about them that are factual and 1 thing that's not. And then on the first day of school, we're going to try to figure out which one is not. So Google Classroom is huge. Of where they're going to gain any information about my class. All right, so Skyward, we talked about that, but the most important thing that I'm asking you guys is just make sure that you're trying your hardest, because if you try your hardest, I know that we'll be able to be successful together. The main thing that I need you guys to remember is if you have any questions at all, please email me at dparkin@montyschools.org. Like I said, all of this information that I just shared with you guys today, I will post on Google Classroom as well as send it out through an email. So no worries if it was too fast and too much information. I will send it out to you. So I'm looking forward to this year, and we will see you soon. Thank you for joining.